district location. Sergey had shown just generally where the site was, but just in a bit more detail. So the Inkai mine site is located remotely in the Suzak district. If I can get this, yeah, right in here. It's located in the Suzak district of South Kazakhstan Oblast, near the town of Taikonur. As I just noted, you can see it on the map in blue. The major centers near the mine site are Kyzylorda and Shymkent. The mine is approximately 350 kilometers northwest of the city of Shymkent, which is shown down here as a red dot on the map, and then approximately 155 kilometers east of the city of Kyzylorda, which is shown as the green dot on the map over here. Those are the two major centers with airports and support, etc. By road, the site's approximately 470 kilometers from Shymkent and 290 kilometers from Kyzylorda. So the point is, it's in quite a remote location. The corporate office for the joint venture is located in Shymkent, which is where many of the Kazakh uranium joint venture offices are located. So the parcel of land set out in the mining allotment for JV Inkai covers 139 kilometers squared. For comparison purposes, I've shown the Toronto airport on the left. I'm following a lot of the similar standards that a lot of the other presenters use, but basically this airport covers about 19 square kilometers. It's shown to scale there just to give you a bit of a sense on how large the site actually is. There are 3 processing facilities on the site. There's the main processing plant, which is located at Block 1. Whoops. How do I go back here? There we go. Here we are. So there's the main process plant, which is in the south area of the deposit. That plant takes pregnant leach solution all the way through to final peroxide product. There's the Satellite 1 plant, which is located at Block 2. It processes pregnant leach solution through to eluate. And then there's a second satellite at Block 3, which has a similar process to Block 2 in that it processes pregnant solution through to eluate. The main facilities for the site are mostly located at Block 1, but there are some facilities at the other 2 blocks. So when I say facilities, I mean the offices, the shops, there's a canteen at Block 1, etc. At Taikonur, JV Inkai has an employee residence camp with catering and leisure facilities for approximately 300 employees, which you can see in the very south area down here. So the Inkai deposit was discovered during drilling campaigns conducted in 1976 through 1978 by the Volkov Sky expedition. By that time, prospecting and exploration programs had also resulted in identification of the Ivanov, Zhelpak, Kanjagan, and Minkoduck deposits. Together with the Inkai deposit, they formed a large new uranium mineralization project in the Shu-Sarsu depression. A pilot test using the in-situ recovery mining method was performed in the northeast area of Block 1 starting in December 1988. In September 2005, JV Inkai decided to construct the main processing plant. In 2009, plant construction was complete and the processing of solutions commenced. Also in 2009, JV Inkai constructed and began commissioning of Satellite 1 to process solution recovered from Block 2. In 2011, JV Inkai received regulatory approval for processing at Satellite 1. Exploration work on Block 3 identified extensive mineralization hosted by several horizons. This deposit required further assessment to determine its commercial viability. This appraisal complies the exploration and delineation program carried out from 2006 to 2016, including field in situ recovery tests. November 26, 2017, Amendment number 6 to the resource use contract was signed, providing rights for mining in the overall mining allotment area, which now included Block 3. So enough about the history. Now we'll get into a bit of the activities at the site. Since the mine started production in 2010, the JV Inkai team has undertaken a number of continuous improvement initiatives. They can be broken into categories as follows. Planning initiatives, operational improvements, and quality improvements. The next 2 slides will touch briefly on each of these areas. Initially, we'll touch on some of the key planning improvements. In the initial years of mine life, 2D sections were used to interpret the ore body and determine both well locations and screen placement. Over the last few years, the operation has moved to 3D geological modeling. This has improved both well and screen placement, leading to the following. There is a decrease in the rock mass leached because it is easier to visualize the impact area of each well and or pattern of wells and focus the acid on the ore body rather than barren rock. Since better ground is under leach, the head grades have improved. Finally, by limiting leach solutions to productive ground, the acid consumption has also been reduced. And for, I assume most of the people in the room are quite familiar with acid consumption in its relation to ISL mining. It is the single biggest cost, so anything you can do to reduce acid is a benefit right to your bottom line. So the Inkai deposit, as Sergey had mentioned and as the other presenters have mentioned, is comprised of multiple stack layers. As the operation matured, the team moved from single wells to single well leaching to take that again. As the operation matured, the team moved from single well leaching multiple zones to single well, single zone configurations where practical. This has resulted in significantly better flow diffusion and higher recovery timelines. This improvement provides very similar benefits to those achieved by 3D modeling. The mine uses a flexible Excel-based planning tool that allows planning, tracking against the plan, and drives continuous improvement in the mine planning process. This is achieved by comparing plant data to actual data and continually improving the database with this information. This tool allows mine staff to compare different scenarios quickly and efficiently during the planning process to address the goals of the joint venture and effectively understand and manage technical risks in mining the ore body. The graph on this slide is an example of the output from the mine scheduling tool. The various well fields are plotted in various colors and plotted on a stack graph with the scenario total monthly production total shown on the left. Inkai has also embraced the concept of the digital mine. I just touched on the integrated planning system. In addition, the site is generating automated reports in some areas, working together with CAMECO on digital processing models of the process plant, and Kazakhstan on broader digitization initiatives across the uranium mining sector in general. The Inkai site has also improved maintenance performance over the life of the facility. This has been achieved through reviewing and adopting best practices, training staff in specific areas, outsourcing as appropriate, and digitizing where it makes sense. In the initial years of operation, wells under acidification, wells under active leaching were managed to a similar pH. As the team learned about the deposit, the team recognized an opportunity to aggressively acidify wells, followed by a slightly less aggressive pH regime during active leaching. This has provided another reduction in the total mass of acid required to leach a given area. In any given well field, different well fields may require different acid concentrations to achieve the leaching profile required. A double collector system is in place at Inkai to allow two different acid concentrations to be provided to a given or well field. This has decreased acid use by up to 15% in some areas. The U-tube elution columns in Satellite 1 have a very big positive impact on both reagent consumption and eluate loading. These U-tubes have been shown to increase eluate concentrations by a significant factor compared to the traditional batch elution columns in the main processing plant. In the early years of production, loaded resin was moved from Satellite 1 to the main processing plant for elution and processing. This was before the U-tubes at Satellite 1 were installed and commissioned. Given the performance of the U-tubes versus the traditional elution columns installed in the main processing plant, this process has now been reversed in that resin from the main processing plant is moved to Satellite 1 for the elution step, and then elution or eluate is trucked back to the main processing plant for further processing to final product. Today, the site uses U-tubes as much as possible to take advantage of the inherent efficiency of these U-tubes. The continuous improvement culture continues to live strong today in Inkai. Recently, the team identified an opportunity to change from metallic to plastic piping for well-field acid delivery lines. Increasing acid dilution and increasing flow rates will allow the same acid to be delivered to each well field with plastic versus metallic piping. The change has the potential to provide significant capital savings each year due to the large geographic area of the mine site that more than offset the additional operating costs associated with pumping extra liquid. In Kazakhstan, engineering projects require approval from a body of state engineering experts. This project is under review by the state body, and if approvals come through as expected, implementation should start this year. As discussed throughout the presentation, the JV Inkai team has a strong culture of continuous improvement. The team has traditionally and continues to look for new ways to mine more efficiently and effectively. Many of these reductions have been achieved through an innovative culture within the joint venture team. I should also note that the team monitors and implements industry best practices where they fit the culture and environment at the mine. Recently, the team started using the 5S and lean systems within the JV. It is still early days, but so far the results are quite promising. The JV Inkai mine is a world-class facility. This is achieved not by resting on past performance, but by continually looking for ways to get better. This creates a positive, challenging environment for staff and a sustainable operation for the shareholders. Thank you for your attention, and from there I'll turn it over to questions. Yes?
So that move from metallic piping to PVC piping or plastic piping, what will that do in terms of the increased delta in your production at Inkai? What will that do in terms of increased poundage production at Inkai?
It doesn't impact the production at all. All it actually impacts is the concentration of the acid in the line being delivered to the well field.
So wouldn't the increase of acid in the line that's being delivered precipitate more or allow the removal of more uranium?
It's the same number of grams that are being delivered to the well field. It's simply that it's being delivered at a lower concentration.
And that brings the cost down?
Yes.
By how much?
I don't want to get into the details of costs.
Thank you.
I have a question about the digital mine.
Yes.
We are not talking many rumors about that. So what's your opinion about the digital mine? What do you mean by that? It's only remote control for some operating parameters or something more?
I think the digital mine includes a lot of different parameters. So I would suggest it can mean as much or as little as a particular facility wants to treat it, and I'll explain what I mean by that. So if I look at what Inkai is doing today, Inkai has an integrated planning system. They've done significant work on creating SysCAD models for all of the processing plants to better predict performance and also optimize reagent use, etc. They also are looking at remotely controlling of well fields. I believe you guys have that, if I'm not mistaken, you guys have that at KATCO, I believe. Do you not? Yeah, I think I've been to the control room there. So it can mean that, or it can mean all the way to controlling the site, or the entire site remotely. My sense is the industry has a long way to go before we can do that, but I think that's probably the ultimate goal of digitization.
Are there any other questions? I'd like to thank you, Noel, for a very interesting talk.
Thank you.
Looks like I have till 3:05 to introduce the next speaker.
Gerard Fries. Gerard is a general director with KATCO, based in Almaty, and he's coming today to talk about operational excellence, innovation, and research and development for KATCO, tools for KATCO, future successes. Gerard?
So, what is the control screen? Okay. So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So, I will present what we are doing at KATCO. First of all, you can see, I think we have not seen so much of the steps, so I thought that it was nice that you have some just overview of what it looked like in the step in Kazakhstan. So these are some drilling rigs in the middle of the step. So, sorry, just need to understand how it is moving. Okay. So, briefly, the content of my presentation, who we are, where we are located, our current success today and tomorrow, and as said by Alain, some tools for future success, operational excellence, innovation, R&D, and I will hope to have the room for a few questions. So who we are a joint venture with Uranium Mining, 51% majority shareholder. For those who don't know who is Uranium Mining, just to remind, the new name of AREVA. And the second partner is, of course, the national operator, Kazakhstan, with 49%. Actually, we were established 20 years ago, more or less at the same time as Inkai in 1996. Just to show where we are, so I have put here, so a lot have been said before about Kazakhstan, the uranium reserves, etc., so I will not comment. We are in the Shu-Sarisu basin, which hold about 60% of the Kazakhstani resources, and it's one of the most prolific uranium provinces in Kazakhstan. Where we are, so we are north of Shymkent, northeast of Shymkent, about 400 kilometers, 380 kilometers, north of Shymkent. We are in the South Kazakhstan region, Oblast in Russian. So you can see here our, sorry. So this is our main facility in Torkuduk. Here you have the administrative building. Here you have the plant, some basins, some ponds, warehouses, and the two plants here in Muyunkum, which are producing eluate. Each of them have a capacity of 1,500 cubic meters per hour, and here we have 3,000 cubic meters per hour. And this is a small satellite in Torkuduk North. So we are the largest employer in the South Kazakhstani region, with a little bit less than 1,200 employees, out of which 98.5% are local people. We have more than 72 people coming from the South Kazakhstan region, and more than 52% coming from the Suzak region. And of course, we are based in Almaty, so we have about 100 people in Almaty, and we have a little bit less than 20 expatriates. I'm pointing that out here because we are in Canada, and of course, relation with local communities, corporate social responsibility, climate change are participated something which is very important, and as Uranium Mining, as a sustainable mining company, it's a very important point on which we have to put a lot of attention. So as I mentioned, we have been created more than 20 years ago in 1996 at the same time as our colleague from Inkai. And in a very short period of time, we have become one of the largest uranium producers in the world. Since 2006, we started industrial operation. We ramped up to the plateau of 4,000 tons of uranium per year, which made KATCO the largest ISR uranium mine in the world. And since that time, I've produced more than 35,000 tons of uranium. Sorry, I'm from Europe, so I'm not counting in pound. So, of course, the three main drivers for this industrial success is, of course, nature, with a very rich uranium deposit in Kazakhstan, the ISR robust and efficient technology, which has been largely presented by my predecessors, and the long-term partnership between the French and the Kazakhstani partners, and I would say relying on both expertise from both sides. We are continuing in April 2017, exactly on the 10th of April last year. Our shareholders, Alain and Kazakhstan signed a strategic agreement, and we received early January this year the mining license for a new promising deposits with new reserves with more than 10 years of production, and our operation will continue in the coming decades. So how are we looking to this future? So operational excellence, day-to-day innovation and research and development are key drivers. First of all, and I should have started like that, of course, safety is absolutely critical. It's our first priority. Our final objective is zero accident. So you can see from these curves that we came from a long way, over about 10 years. So last year our frequency rate was 0.21. Just to add that our way of counting, we are counting here not only KATCO result, but also our contractors. This is as per uranium mining approach. And you have seen as well here how we are counting. I don't know how my colleague from Uranium One is counting here. It's really the French approach. It's a number of lost time accidents multiplied by 10 million divided by the number of work hours. So it means that with 0.2, it corresponds to roughly 1 accident during the year. Operational excellence. So it's something which is in fact is coming for all who knows. Obviously, it's coming from the automotive industry, from Toyota actually, from many years ago. So we are working with improving our managers. What are the mission of the manager? It's to be exemplar, to cooperate, to work on problem solving, to be transparent, to develop teamwork. So we have carried out last year top 10 management have 10 top management have passed the manager in the field training. We have 24 problem solving ongoing, 15 out of which have already been completed. We have trained almost half of the staff, 500 people, and over 800 people were trained to the tools and methods. Visual management is something that has been implemented largely and is really very helpful, with more than 100 employees trained with this tool, and 21 projects are currently being used. Even at my level as manager, I have the visual management of all of my operations. So you have here some few examples how it was. Here you have the warehouse. The warehouse here and here. Okay, so one of the key tools is of course the master plan. So which is our day-to-day way to innovate. So you have to identify a number of projects, but of course not a portfolio that you will be not able to manage. So you have to focus on short term. Short term meaning less than 6 months, up to 1 year, but not more. And you need to choose, of course, those projects will have a clear positive impact on the company's strategy. So if you have here a look at what we achieved, you see that we had about 70 projects. We finished 45 of them. Some were delayed by 1 month, which is acceptable. Some were delayed a little bit more, and we canceled 5. So you see that even with a portfolio of 70 projects, you cannot achieve everything. And even for 2018, we have dramatically reduced even the number of projects, considering that in order to focus on operation and be able to finish the project, we have to divide the number of projects by about 2. So we are today in the range of 35 to 40 projects only. Okay, we have developed and worked a lot about reactive transport simulation from commercial tools like Francine, which is a very classical tool used in the oil and gas industry, to develop the fluid flow, simulate the fluid transport, and to be able to make simulation, modeling of a block within a couple of days only. Time of calculation is extremely quick, so you can see it's about 10 minutes. And you can measure KPIs, the performance of the injection, the performance of the producers, and you can visualize the invasion of the reservoir. On a more, really more technical, I would say physical parameters, we have developed with Orano Mining and some collaboration with the French universities. We have developed a reactive 3D transport simulation tool, which is called HiTech, which coupled hydraulic and chemistry, which allow to visualize the dissolved uranium, optimize the U recovery curve, optimize the planning, and study natural attenuation. So I hope that it will work. So you can see here, it's about over 500 days. So you see the evolution of one parameter in the in 3D. So I guess it will stop. So digital mine, one topic where I heard one question. Actually, we are very practical and concrete. I am not a great fan of buzzword, so for me it should be a practical topic with the return on investment, which allow me to demonstrate the justification of the capex. So we are focusing on one example is a reliable database. So we are changing the tool this year, which will allow us to have really a good data input, robustness of the database, to have the interoperability, being able to optimize the well field, to do some visual management, to do some to have some shared data through web, to be able to do some reporting, but and to save some time of manual operation, which are leading to some mistakes, and to work on planification. So we are rolling out that with our with the commercial tools that we have purchased. Research and development, we have few ideas. Even the technology in Kazakhstan are very robust. I have 20 years oil and gas background, so I'm very surprised by the fact that the tools we are using are, I would say, at least old-fashioned. So, for example, in terms of logging, we are using very, very old tools, and of course, new tools which are coming and available in logging, for example, needs to demonstrate their effectiveness and what they are bringing. But what we are looking for when we are drilling because we are drilling a lot of wells, is to get the petrophysical parameter, porosity and permeability. And for that, the oil and gas industry have all the tools for decades, and we are using very old-fashioned tool, resistivity. We are not using sonic. We have more or less nothing. So we have a project to use a nuclear magnetic resonance to determine permeability in the boreholes, to be able to measure porosity. We will demonstrate the technology exists. The only thing that we will try to demonstrate that it is really cost effective and that it will bring added value for our operation. Again, so it's a transfer from one domain to another. The question is really whether with the current low price of the uranium, can we afford that? But in terms of data, you have seen from my presentation and presentation of my colleagues, we have nice modeling tools. But everybody knows garbage in, garbage out. If we have no proper data, our modeling will just give us bullshit. Another tool, I am in Canada, very famous for the oil sand, of course, also coming from the oil and gas industry. This ISR technology is drilling, we are drilling 700 to 1,000 wells per year at a depth between 300 to 700 meters. In our mine, we are between 300 and 500 meters. And I'm very surprised that we have not even thought about drilling horizontal wells in order to address it in a more effective way. Of course, we need to identify good suppliers, good drilling companies. So if there are any people interested in the room, I will be very happy to talk with them. I've already seen some suppliers in the conference. I think it could be a change maker in the future. Completely changing the approach of doing ISR. And again, reducing completely our drilling costs, which represent a huge impact on the CAPEX. So, just to conclude, so we are relying on various tools, as you can see, very day-to-day operational tools, of course using operational excellence, using innovation, and not forgetting research and development that could bring us new cost cutting, and so being really successful for the future. Thank you very much.
Are there any questions?
Gerard, I fully agree with your comment about garbage in and garbage out. Well, we mine uranium and it's detected by gamma rays. Gamma rays are not emitted by uranium, as we all know. So this disequilibrium that we know is a problem. Is there any advances that KATCO is doing in that regard?
We know that we have a disequilibrium, and that's why we are working. We have developed an XRF tool, a small hand tool that we can measure directly. Again, it is not. I'm not the expert in uranium, but we have observed a disequilibrium. So that's one of the major constraints which exist with the current Kazakhstani standards. And clearly, we have sometimes some disagreement with our Kazakhstani colleague on this matter. So I fully agree with you. It's really a major difficulty. And even, I would say, even the classical roll front model, we have even some proof that it is not 100% perfect. So we have some discussion with Voykin geology. They cannot admit that we can have mineralization behind the roll front, but it exists. And in some places, as you said, we have gamma ray data, but there is no uranium.
Actually, it's really an issue, and we can discuss it a lot about the disequilibrium factor. And the question is, we have the PFN logging for that, but it's very expensive. And the solution may be how to create more advanced technology for PFN logging. That would be an issue. But my question is related to the simulation. how do you really use this? I mean, process simulation, which I also talked about. How do you use it for mine planning and for maybe drill spacing estimation, effective drill spacing?
So the tool will be rolled out this year in operation. As my experience there are two types of modeling. The front scene is a very quick and dirty modeling. It's very nice. It helps you, I would say, to do a very quick assessment. The high-tech model is like Eclipse for the oil and gas. It's a very complex tool, which is really, you cannot do that on a daily basis. So we have now created what we can call reservoir engineering team, which will be, for me, will be the future of ISR. You will have to have reservoir engineering people being able to do the modeling with different outcome, which might be reserve estimation, placing wells, planning. For the moment, what I see, we are mostly using it at the block level in order to better assess how we will do the drilling. The difficulty, especially we have a very large ore body and we are spread over a very large surface. What I am missing personally is to have a full 3D model of all the entire ore body, because even at the block level, even if you take a couple of blocks, you have to have boundaries to your model, and this is the most critical issue. So in fact, you need to go up to the edge of your model, and then we enter into computing time. So we need to have a supercomputer or something like that. So you are not doing that on a daily basis.
Have you guys integrated your geological model with your process model?
That's a very good question. As you have seen, these deposits are known, I would say, since the early 60s. Personally, I'm a sedimentary geologist. I've worked in oil and gas, in exploration. I'm frustrated as a geologist that we don't have a good update of the geology. We know the stratigraphy, more or less. We know that we have sandstone and clays. I have asked the question in the previous session. We see the shape of the roll front. So one answer was the lithology and the hydrology. In terms of sedimentology, I have no idea because there are no good cores. There is no good sedimentological model. We are in between, I would say, continental to fluvio-deltaic, sometimes marine influence. I have not seen so far a good up-to-date 2018 model with up-to-date sedimentary stratigraphy, sequence stratigraphy and modeling, which could give us in the future, I would say, better tools in order to do a good modeling. Because 3D modeling without a good sedimentological model is hopeless. The fact is, and here I agree with my colleagues, the cost of production is today so low that doing this investment, my CFO and my shareholder will say, why invest? Because we are so low in terms of cost of production, it's pointless to do that. But in terms of models, we don't know where we are so far. And I hope you will tend to agree with me on that.
Any other questions? Thank you very much for this. Very informative. Okay, that brings our session to a close. I wish to thank you all for coming out, and in particular, I wish to thank my co-chair, Alain, for helping make this a success. It would not have come about without his persistence in bringing some of these speakers here. Alain?
Europe.
Yeah, I'll need.
During the presentation, I got this inspiration. First, I want to thank Quebec for organizing this session. And I think that we could look at developing a trend here. This year's topic was Kazakhstan and uranium, what the future holds. But I think that for many in the room, maybe a subject for next year, we could retitle the session Uranium Price, what the future holds. Thank you very much.
Thanks again.